I already told you that we are not trying to get rid of the addiction, but that we want to rewire our reward system to stop relying on unhealthy sources of dopamine. Everything which has at least some sort of positive effect on you will have the potential to become a habit. Problematic are only those habits which cause harm in some way. Sport, for example, is a great habit because for most people it will increase their health, and it is quite difficult to do too much sport to where it will harm you. On the other hand, fappening every once in a while will not harm you. It will feel good, it will satisfy your needs, and it will calm you down. It might even help you falling asleep. But if you do it too often, it will probably still feel good, but it will also start to take over your mind. Especially in combination with adult films, it will put your mind in a state of achievement. This mechanism is the problem. Highly addictive substances and some behaviors will stimulate your reward system in an unprecedented way. This is one of my favorite perspectives I learned in my studies. The question was if the reward system is broken in addiction. A thought I never had before. Are people who are addicted having a neurologically damaged reward system? The answer is no. At least not in the beginning. Over time it will change its function, but in the beginning of any addiction it works just like it should. The problem is the type of stimulation. I want you to think back to a time where the fastest possible way of traveling was riding a horse. What types of activities were there which can give a positive stimulation? And how much time would the average person have back then to do these? Just the most basic things like eating were things which you had to work for and which you had to earn. Today, you could just go to the next supermarket and buy as much food as you can carry. Of course, there were also markets back then, but would you be able to find a bag of chips or some gummy bears on those? Nowadays, there are so many different things which are just so much more stimulating than anything back then. Our reward system isn't supposed to be stimulated this hard. Short-term stimulants are everywhere and will quickly steal your attention from the natural activities which your reward system was supposed to reinforce. Of course, also people thousands of years ago participated in fappening, but they had no adult films to do it to. Imagine there was no form of adult content. Would you still have some alone time? Of course you would. But would you do it every day? Probably not. At least not longer than a week probably. So what does this tell us about quitting any type of addiction? Addictions occur when there is a stimulant so strong, and there might be an individual difference in how addictive something can be, that we stray away from normal healthy behavior to pursue this stimulation. So how in the world would someone be able to quit a habit of stimulating oneself with an extreme source of positive stimulation if you also stimulate yourself with other extreme stimulants at the same time? If you have a habit of scrolling through social media, eating sugar and watching adult films, what would change if all of a sudden any type of adult content disappeared? You would probably just scroll social media for a little longer and eat a little more sweets. And if adult content appeared again, your mind will still be in the same place, focused on extreme stimulation, and you will just start all over again. How you quit any unhealthy habit for good is by rewiring your reward system so that normal, healthy activities are stimulating again. The purpose of the reward system is to reinforce behaviors that will ensure the survival of our species. Nutrition, creation, and socializing are most important for this. All three of those are essential needs for a satisfying life. You need to replace your unhealthy habits with more healthier ones. How you can do this will be discussed in the next videos. I hope you're still staying strong and able to resist those urges. Just hold on long enough and you will see why it is so important to get rid of this habit.